It's Total War Warhammer time, people. Morghur the Corruptor takes the field at the head of a Beastmen Brayherd, going up against the Empire and the Vampire accounts with the Beastmen ally in this 2v2 multiplayer battle, and I'm rocking a build straight from the fluff with this one. 4 Chaos Spawns surround the Master of Skulls, for where he walks, the world twists and mutates and withers away. Bestigor Herd provide the infantry fight some more punching power and armor-piercing damage, and a whole lot of Gore Herd and Ungor Spearmen, supported by 2 Gorbals, round out my infantry component. I love playing with these kind of lore-friendly builds that aren't necessarily the meta, but I'm just wondering, when am I going to get to bring Big Daddy Doombull to the field and rock a legit minibus army? CA, please, I need that in my life. On my left flank, 2 Centaurs with great weapons and a Bray Shaman with the Lore of Shadow and a Razor Gore Chariot. Only 2 spells on him right now, Pit of Shades and Penumbral Pendulum, 2 of the most visually satisfying spells in the game. Let's see how that works out for me. Across the beaten zone, we've got the Empire of Man. Demigryph Knights with Lances in the Vanguard. Bit of an odd choice against the Beastmen, honestly, and really most factions in general, except maybe the Dwarfs. You definitely want Halberds on your demis against the Beastmen because so many of their units are classified as large. Really helps you out in a cavalry fight if you're playing as the Empire. He's also got 2 steam tanks, which is going to be pretty scary to deal with, but I do have a lot of armor piercing. Vampire Count's ally has a White King, a Mortis Engine, Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone. That's a Claw of Nagash. And the Empire has pretty much what you'd expect. A lot of Empire Spearmen, some great swords, and some handgunners as ranged support. So I'm pushing hard and fast here. I don't want to give those steam tanks a whole lot of time to fire, and I really want to shut down these demigryphs early on. So Gorbal is running out ahead, trying to bait them into an attack, and if I tie them down, my Bestigors, my Chaos Spawn, and my Centaurs can close into melee and deny the demis their charge bonus. If those were Halberd demis, this would be a much scarier engagement for me, but thankfully they're not, which means I can send the Gorbal out here and basically try to bait him into an attack and deny their charge bonus. They're really not very threatening to a solo Gorbal because they'll be able to quickly reinforce, and he's going to dive through and actually take down a model there, which is pretty awesome. I'm kind of surprised about that he could take an entire model down with a single attack, but that's really good for me. I'm going to get a model off the field and then charge in with my Gore Herd, and the Great Swords are going to collapse into each other. Ideally, you want to be letting the Ungor Spearman Horde take the charge bonus of those Great Swords. I think I denied the Great Sword charge bonus there with the Ungor Herd. Chaos Spawn going to reinforce and start ripping stuff up, and now the steam tanks are going to start firing in as well. Demigryph Knights up the center, going to charge in. Chaos Spawn and my Bestigors back in that engagement up. They don't want to be sticking around in melee for too long in those demigryphs because I have a lot of damage there. I do have my Centaurs on reinforcement duty, trying to get around the flank. Now my Beastman player, my ally, is very slow on the uptake. I told him at the beginning of the game, you got to get your ass moving because they have more artillery than us. Well, they have more artillery than me. And what that means is I had to charge in because those 2 steam tanks were tearing me up, and that means I'm kind of going to get double teamed a little bit here. Cryptors and a Black Coach made their way over to this side of the battlefield, but I do have Chaos Spawn and Bestigors waiting for him. That Black Coach wasn't really able to do a whole lot. Penumbral Pendulum getting ready to go off here, and that is a beautiful cast, scything through those Great Swords and Spearmen. Going to get about 60 kills there in a single cast, so that was pretty nice. Beautiful spell, one of my favorite spells in the game for sure. So that did quite a bit of damage to the Empire left flank, and I'm dealing with them all right on this front at the moment. I have definitely overwhelmed the Empire's right flank. Now I have a Gorbal in a threatening position going after the handgunners, and the Chaos Spawn and Morghur are working on the center, tearing stuff up in melee very well. Now I do have to worry about those handgunners. He has like 5 of them in the back lines. They could do a lot of damage to my single entity units, like the Gorbals. So I'm going to have to get my Chariot and my Gorbals moving, get them into melee, and tie them down very quickly, or I'm going to take way too much unnecessary damage. Over here, the other Brayherd has made it into melee. Blood Knights and Cryptors tying down a bunch of Gore Herd there, and the Claw of Nagash is going to charge into melee and get that chilling aura off, slowing everything down and doing damage in an AoE. And my Bray Shaman has a very nice target here, going after a lot of handgunners in the back lines who have kind of been completely left alone, honestly. There are steam tanks here, but not a whole lot in the way of reinforcements for these handgunners. So the Summon Chaos Spawn and the Bray Shaman are going to be able to start ripping through these handgunners and making sure they stop firing. Just basically chasing them off the field. They're getting terrified very easily, and I'm racking up the kills on that Razor Gore Chariot. It's one reason I absolutely love bringing the Chariot on my Bray Shaman. It is kind of expensive, but in this kind of situation, it's incredibly worth it. It gives you so much mobility and ability to run down the handgunners and just rip them up in melee. It's very nice. Gives your caster a lot more utility, and honestly a lot more DPS. If he was just dismounted, he'd be less expensive, but he wouldn't be able to do this, and this is very, very satisfying. Those handgunners are not long for this world. They're getting ripped apart. So Chaos Spawn doing good for me, just tying everything down exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and I am pretty much rolling over the Empire at the moment, but still have those 2 steam tanks to deal with. Gotta isolate those and use my armor piercing to cut through them. That might take a while. Looks like Kazrak the One-Eye on his Razorgore Chariot fighting the Claw of Nagash. Let's focus on the steam tanks here and the handgunners. Centaurs made it into the handgunners. Gonna rout them. And yeah, pretty much at this point, there are going to be some Empire units cycling back into combat, but most of them got rolled over pretty quick. But the 2 steam tanks are still at full HP, and I pretty much have to commit my army to taking them down because they're very, very tough. I would love to send stuff over to the Vampire Counts player and help my ally win his battle, but I need all the armor piercing I can get to deal with those 2 steam tanks. So it's kind of a catch-22 at the moment, right? Because I think my teammate really does need my help. Vampire Counts versus Beastmen is a terrible matchup for the Beastmen. They do not match up well against terror-causing units or all the raised dead shenanigans the Vampire Counts can pull off, because a lot of their melee units are very low leadership. But the problem is, if I let those steam tanks stay alive, the steam gun and all that artillery that I can shoot out are going to do a lot of damage to me. So I kind of have to focus them down, unfortunately, rather than send a lot of my stuff over to help out. But he's doing okay so far. Minotaurs and Vestigores around that black coach, but he is starting to get some wavering on his line for sure. He has had some routing going on. In the meantime, my Centaurs and my Razorgore Chariot are having the time of their lives, goring everything in the back lines, and those handgunners should be gone for good at this point. Lots of food, lots of snacks for my Chaos Spawn and my fast movers to enjoy should they survive the battle. Hopefully we will. We've still got our work cut out for us because there's a full unit of Blood Knights. There's still the Mortis engine around at about 2/3 HP. 2 Banshees, a Corpse Cart, and the Triple Ghoul King and White King are still both full HP. So the Cygors are going to start wading into melee now. Kazrak charging forward towards the Mortis engine, which is not in a good spot right now. A couple of attacks from the Cygor and from Kazrak will definitely finish that Mortis engine off very quickly. And the Cygors are basically giants, and the Vampire Counts do not match up well versus giant units. So from that standpoint, he could be doing okay as long as he doesn't lose his general and doesn't get a mass rout going from the terror or from the fear that some of those units cause. In the meantime, am swarming the steam tank. One of those Gorbals getting sent flying. Another one going flying there. Getting punched in the face, going about 30 feet in the air before he returns. But yeah, all that armor-piercing damage. God, he keeps getting knocked really far away from that tank. All that armor-piercing damage should be enough to cut the steam tank relatively quickly. But will it be fast enough? My ally is definitely starting to rout and run from the battlefield. The Cygors are doing okay. Mortis engine goes down there. That's a pretty big deal, because that's going to prevent a lot of the regen that those units were receiving. But all the special characters, the White King and the 2 Banshees, and the Strigor Ghoul King are still full HP. And the Cygor is routing. That's really bad. Okay, so it's looking like it might end up being a showdown between myself and the Vampire Counts. Steam Tank going to go down there to a Gorbal charge. That was pretty awesome looking. And the Chaos Spawn, in the meanwhile, are swarming that other steam tank at down to about half HP. My Gorbal is very low, one of them is, and here's where I'm sending over my Bray Shaman to help out. The problem is I have 2 spells on him. I have the Penumbral Pendulum and I have Pit of Shades, and my opponent, the Vampire Counts player, only has Crypt Horrors and special characters and 1 Blood Knight unit left, almost no infantry. So I can't use my spells on any of those targets. That's the biggest issue with my kit with him in this game right now. I wrapped up the infantry fight against the Empire super easily, and this steam tank is about to go down as well. Centaur is tying it down in Chaos Spawn, and Gorbal is catching up, but I cannot help out my ally with the spells, which I realized once I sent it over there. Like, none of these targets will actually be a viable target for my Vortex or for my Wind spell. So kind of in a sticky situation there, and he has a lot of unused mana. I've only done one Penumbral Pendulum in this game. The steam tank's going to go down in a fiery conflagration, which is going to be a nice little touch for us. And I think the only person left on the Empire side now is Karl Franz. So I'm going to get my army in order, start moving towards the vampire counts, and Karl Franz might have a epic last stand here. Get a good look at Morghur in the middle of all those summons and his Chaos Spawn. Really love the Chaos Spawn builds with him, and they're not the most viable multiplayer builds, but they look awesome. Alright, so Karl Franz is going to come in here now. Gorbel's going to charge him. Damn! He ain't going to be in Rush Hour 3. And Karl Franz is going to get smashed into the ground, finished off, gored on the horns of my Gorbel, and, yeah, he's gone. That was brutal. That was awesome. Okay, so now my army is very tired. I was chasing the steam tanks around for a while. They're exhausted at this point. That's very bad. You get some very big malices when you are exhausted with your army. So I'm going to give them a second to recuperate. The problem with that, and I think I have to do it, right? Because I can't go into melee exhausted or my guys are just going to rout almost instantly. But the longer I wait, the more time I'm giving my opponent to regenerate with his Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart and with his Sternsman, who also have passive health regeneration. So it's kind of a catch-22 here. He's got a decent amount of troops left, but more importantly, he has his Lord at full HP, and he's got those two Banshees, which are going to be a serious problem for the Beastmen, because I don't have anything that does magical attacks. So killing those is going to be a problem for sure. Now, Gorbels hit really hard, but one of my Gorbels is very low HP. You see the balance bar is in their favor, so I'm going to have to pull something out of the bag for this one if I want to win it for my team. Again, I'm not 100% sure I played it right in supporting my ally, but again, leaving the steam tanks alive that whole time with the steam gun and all the ammo they had left would have been just as disastrous, if not more so, than not supporting my ally as best as I could. So, again, like I said, it was kind of a catch-22 there. But so now my guys have rested. Most of them are back up to fresh because stamina regeneration is very fast in Total War Warhammer, especially compared to a game like Medieval 2. And I can go into melee. So Chaos Spawn in the front. I still have some summons for my Chaos Spawn as well, so I can summon another group with the Staff of Ruinous Corruption. Some zombies going to get summoned at the front of the Von Karstein army, led by a Strigoi Ghoul King for some reason. Zombies going to charge in. Ungor Herman blunting their oh-so-powerful charge, as the zombies are so known for. And the Chaos Spawn are going to wade in and start eating them for dinner. So, killing the zombies is not going to be an issue, but they are blunting the charges from my Chaos Spawn. Going to summon some more with the Staff of Ruinous Corruption, and the two Banshees are going to wade in and go after Morghur. So with the Gorbels in support and with Morghur, I should be able to deal with the Banshees relatively well, but I have an idea at this point. I really need to take the Strigoi Ghoul King off the field. If he goes down, I have a decent chance of winning this game. So the Gorbels and Morghur very soon are going to focus their attention on him, because I really kind of need a Jensenite play to turn this in my favor. My Bestigor is getting ripped up by the Cryptors, and I'm going to drop Penumbral Pendulum on the Blood Knights. I actually misclicked there. I meant to do Pit of Shades. Either way, wasn't going to work out too well because he noticed it and moved his Blood Knights very quickly. And then they're going to now surround my Gorbel, and with their bonus versus large, that's going to be an issue. But I do have my two Gorbels and Morghur on top of the Strigoi, knocking him around now. If I can bring him down quickly, might have a chance of pulling this one out. Corpse Cart is still supporting with all that regeneration. And things are starting to look pretty bleak at this point. Bestigors are routing. One of the Gorbels just went down. The other one is about half HP, but surrounded by Blood Knights. Not ideal. Another Banshee is also stabbing him in the gut. Cryptors are holding the line extremely well. They've been chefed up to gold chevrons because this was a 17,000 gold game rather than a 12,000 gold standard funds game. And things are bad for us at this point. Pit of Shades going off. Beautiful spell, but it's gorgeous. And it's doing some damage here, but it's a pretty unimportant unit. Mostly zombies. I don't think it's particularly good against Cav. Maybe if you landed it in the middle of a cavalry unit, but there was only a couple models beneath the spell. And it's over. I can't pull this one out. My teammate, I don't know if he played particularly well. I could have supported him better for sure, but in general, the Beastmen are not a good matchup for the vampire counts in my experience. They can route pretty easily, unless you're going for something cheesy like a giant spam. You could bring like 5 giants and like destroy the vampire counts relatively easily because they cannot deal with giant spam. But if you bring like a normal build as Beastmen against vampire counts, it's pretty hard if your opponent kind of knows what they're doing, which it seemed like he did. So, fun battle. Nonetheless, I really enjoyed it. You guys know I love those games where one player wins his side and then the other player from the other team wins the other side of the battle, and then the remnants of both armies collapse in on each other and fight it out to the death. It doesn't happen that often in 2v2s on Total War Warhammer in my experience, but when it happens, they're some of my favorite battles, so really enjoyed it. Steam Tanks did okay. My army, the Bray Shaman, did extremely well for me, but it was a tough fight overall. Morghur didn't do a whole lot except tank out a lot of damage. But he did look awesome in the middle of a bunch of Chaos Spawn, which is what Total War Warhammer is all about, right? Looking awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed that game, and I'll see y'all next time. Anyprize signing out for now.